In this video, we'll be presenting the Metaforms capabilities for digitalization of patient registration workflow. Metaforms consists of two main components, a manager and a navigator. We are going to use the Metaforms manager first to create a data model and a form, then assign the form to a user. As a follow-up step, we will fill in some data using the Metaforms navigator. Let's create a dataset, or the so-called data model, which we will use to collect the data. The dataset we are creating will be used for new patient registration, which is a common form used in most hospitals and medical practices. We need to give it a name and description, and then we start creating data fields. For each field that we need later in the form, we need to create a corresponding data field and choose its data type. For the purposes of the demo, we are just going to create a few fields and collect some patient details. These fields can then be used in multiple forms, surveys, reports, and multiple other scenarios. After the dataset is created, the next step for creating our first form and capturing data is to create a question. The questions are mini forms used to group fields logically. They can be placed on a form page and also reused across multiple forms if the forms look similar. Let's first name our question and drag a control block to it. Each input field in a question has to be linked to a dataset field. This way, we collect data. We can choose from various controls and elements available in our intuitive and easy-to-use drag-and-drop question builder. When we are in field edit mode, we can manage the settings of that field at the right side panel. For editing text fields, we have a standard text block editor. Now, let's make it even more interesting by adding rules between different fields. We will define a rule which will collect additional data when a requirement is met. In other words, a patient who answers yes to the question, "Taking any medications currently?" would be asked to specify. Our last field in this question will be the signature. With this, the question is ready and it has to be placed on a form page. Let's create our form. We will give it a name and link it to our dataset. Then, we can go to the Content tab. Here, we have the option to place some branding, like a logo and a company name. Next, we have to place the questions on the form page. We have two options: to create local questions for this form only, or to use one already created on a higher level. The second option allows you to use the same question in multiple forms. In our case, we will click on the Library button, and you will see a list of our questions. We can choose the right one and just drop it on the form page. When we have a form, we can use it in many different scenarios or projects. Creating a project allows us to use the form. During creation, we need to choose the dataset and which form or forms we are going to use in this data capture scenario. Once it is created, we can use it to assign the form to the groups or users of our choosing. When assigning, we can also specify what is allowed to the assignee. Now we have finished our work with the Metaforms Manager and will switch to the Metaforms Navigator, which will be the tool used by the assignees to fill in data and manage their forms. This is the Metaforms Navigator. Here, the user can see all forms that have been assigned to them. Furthermore, all assigned forms can be filled in by creating a new record. This is the form we created, but now we see it a little differently, from the end user's perspective. Let's fill in some data. Here is the question with the rule. If we select yes for the answer, the additional field appears, asking the patient for specification. If the form has more pages, the navigator has a quick page switching tool. When we have finished with entering data, we should save this form to create a record. After the form is saved, we have the option to export it as a PDF document. The form is now saved as in progress, but if we don't expect to enter more data later, we can mark it as completed. We can also come back to it later using the Records menu. Here is our record and the form which we have just completed. This concludes our demo of showing how Metaforms works. Thank you for viewing.